Welcome to the Unlock Wellness Podcast. I'm Dr. Casey, and today's guest is my friend Dr. Chris Barker. And Dr. Chris owns a family wellness clinic in Lakeland, Florida called City Chiropractic. And I love all of the work he's doing. He specializes in scoliosis corrective care and also has a large focus on nutrition and weight loss. Dr. Chris recently launched his own supplement line called Barker Basics. And I'm extremely excited for all the success that he's having. So, Dr. Chris, thank you so much for coming on. I'm excited to have you.
Yeah, no, thanks, Casey, for having me. I really appreciate being here. And it seems like so long ago we were in school together, and I'm equally as proud of what you're doing, and just honored to be on the show today. So, thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem, and I appreciate that. But yeah, why don't you just get started talking about your background a little bit so people get to know you and how you got into chiropractic and nutrition and everything that you're doing right now.
Yeah, no, it's exciting. It's funny how when you're a kid, you think you're gonna, when they ask you what you want to be, it's totally opposite of what turns out in life. But kind of my story. I was actually a big skateboarder as a kid, and I used to love skateboarding. I did it all the time, and I started to develop some serious issues, some back problems. I remember I had neck pain and arm numbness, and I grew up in New York, so traditional, American medical model. It's all I was used to. I was just told to take, drugs. I go to doctors, take drugs, and the thing is that it definitely worked. Don't get me wrong, it definitely got rid of my problems, but they always seemed to come back. So I just masked it over and over, and I kind of felt that as the years went by, it got worse and worse. I never really, found the cause of the problem. Then eventually was going on to dental school, and then my problems even got worse. And long story short, I went to a chiropractor, and I remember my mom told me, "Why don't you go see this chiropractor?" And I'm like, "I don't do that. That's weird. That's odd." I didn't know what it was, and then I went. He took X-rays of my spine, and I found out that I had scoliosis, and that's what was actually causing my back pain, my arm numbness, all the problems that I had been masking for years. Long story short, I changed it. We corrected my spine in I think about a year's time. And, all my problems went away. And I said, wow, this is what I want to do. And then I, changed my career and went to chiropractic school and met you. And now we're on this show. But it's been a phenomenal journey, and it's just amazing to see the changes in my life. And I wanted to pass that on to all my other patients. So I'm just so passionate about kind of freeing people up and giving them hope.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. And I know throughout the training that you've had, you were fortunate to get to train with the physician that is one of the best in scoliosis care. So, you've got to learn a lot. And I know that you're helping a lot of patients at your clinic right now with scoliosis care. I mean, some cases are extremely severe, obviously some minor, even though we know that a minor scoliosis is still scoliosis. And I know you'll get into that. But if you just want to just talk about just the subject of scoliosis for a little bit, because nobody's discussed that yet on the show. And I think it's extremely important to speak about.
Yeah, no, scoliosis is such a big deal because so many people have it and it becomes undiagnosed. You probably have seen people, it's not funny, but you see people, hunched over and, as they get older in all these contorted positions. And, obviously that didn't happen overnight. It happens at an early age. And, even the medical model, it's crazy. If you ask really any medical doctor, I found out, what causes scoliosis, they call it idiopathic, meaning they have no idea what actually causes it. So we don't know that, but we do know one thing. Over time, it's detrimental to the person's health. And, in the United States, especially if you're listening to this, there's 3 categories of scoliosis. 0 to 9 degrees is considered nothing. There's nothing. It's not even a classification. The problem is whether it's 9 degrees or 10 degrees, it's still growing and progressing. So once you hit though 10 degrees and to around 20, that's considered mild scoliosis. So most doctors, if you took your child to the physician, they would do something called watch and wait. So it's observation only. So there's actually no treatment. And that's crazy to me because most scoliosis progress in your childhood years. So they're literally watching it until it gets worse. And once it goes over about the 20 range, 25 to about 39 degrees, that's moderate scoliosis. And then the medical standards for that is half of orthos will actually just continue to just watch and wait. Mm-hmm. And the other half will do something called a hard brace. And if any of you out there ever broke an arm or a leg, I mean, I broke my arm. And imagine if you put a cast on your body. When you take that cast off, the muscles in your arm, I always say, are they stronger or weaker? It's actually creepy. I mean, when I took my cast off my arm, I had like this little hand, like it was insane. My muscles atrophied. It was like, if you don't use it, you lose it. So when you wear those braces, some of these girls, it's horrible. 23 and a half hours, they're wearing this hard brace to try to hold and brace the scoliosis. The problem is all the intrinsic muscles around it, they actually lose strength. And then honestly, I mean, I say 95% of the time, it eventually buckles into something over 40 degrees. And in the United States, once you go over 40 degrees, that's the magic number. That's severe scoliosis. You're in the surgery range. The problem is America has the most aggressive standards. So anything over 40 degrees is surgery candidate in the United States. Canada is 50. New Zealand is 60. Some countries don't even have a number. We have the most aggressive treatment, and we actually do the most scoliosis surgeries. But the problem is with these surgeries, yes, do they hold the spine in a lesser number? So if you were 40 degrees, maybe they can get it to 20. But the research doesn't show any correlation in, I would say, ADLs, so your daily living activities, pain levels. So you might have a reduced scoliosis, but it has nothing to do with the things that most people care about, like, can I bend over to pick something up? Can I hold my kids?
I mean, and not to mention that the dangers from the surgery itself, or, whenever they put a Harrington rod in your spine, you have to have that replaced every so often. So if you get that done as a college student, which I've seen way too much the last few years, then you're going to have that replaced multiple times throughout your life. So do you really want your spine opened up multiple times throughout your life? It's just really crazy.
You bring up a really good point. And I've actually seen, Doc, x-ray after x-ray of actually the rods break.
That's crazy.
The Harrington rods snap and then screws
it breaks through your
loose.
Skin too sometimes, right?
Yes, I've never actually, thank God, I've seen that. But yes, I've actually I've heard of that a few times. Actually, there was a case of a child, it's horrible, in class, and like bent over a little and the rod popped out the back.
Oh my
something
gosh.
like out of a horror movie. I know. So
That's
it's just
awful.
It's not something that I think any parent really wants. And I just don't think that the community educates people in options that they can do for someone that has scoliosis.
Right. And the compensations as well. Not only with, obviously, the Harrington rods are going to have a crazy amount of compensations, but as well as when you were talking about the brace, because obviously the muscles are weaker, but then the rest of your body is compensating. And then over time, you're just creating a whole new level of imbalances everywhere.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. It's kind of like driving a car that's misaligned. Mm-hmm. When your axle's off, we've all driven cars that are misaligned. You start wearing, one side of the car, wearing tires out, like front left tires or back right tires. It's no different. So you're right. When you're braced, you start walking in a unnatural biomechanical motion, and you start wearing out one ankle, one knee, one hip starts to bother you, one shoulder. And you're right. It's almost like the snowball effect. It starts progressing, and you start, picking up other symptoms and issues that you never had due to the treatment that you're actually getting to reduce the scoliosis.
Right. And do you want to go into a little bit, because I think if anybody has scoliosis or they know somebody that does, I think one of their biggest questions is, well, how can you correct it? Because that seems like such an impossible task. So if you just want to give a general idea of some of the things that you would do to help correct that, because I think it's just a lack of understanding.
Yeah, no, that's an amazing question. And back to your other thing real quick, even in the medical model with bracing, if you're at 25 degrees and you put on a brace, we are literally hoping for the best to be 25 degrees. So they're just hoping it doesn't get any worse. With our newest sort of treatment, our advanced technology, we're actually, you're right, reducing the spine. So if you have 25 degrees, over time, you could actually hope to get into the teens, and the medical model could never even reduce it 1 degree without evasive surgery. But yeah, so to actually change someone's spine, it's kind of crazy. Even our own profession, a lot of us don't even believe we can change the spine because of something called muscle memory. Long story short, if I pushed your right shoulder right now, if you're a viewer at home and push your shoulder back, or if you had no muscle memory, your shoulder would stay like that. But what does it always do? It goes back into the same position. So your body remembers where it is in space. I mean, your brain and your nervous system are coordinating together. So what we kind of do is we actually obviously take an X-ray and we analyze the spine, and we figure out what we need to start moving and start placing in the right direction. It's a 3-step process. It's called mix, fix, and set. And the best example I could give is kind of like a blacksmith. When we were a kid, we learned about, blacksmith, and what they do is they heat up metal and then they mold it into the right position, and then they cool it to harden it in the right position. So in scoliosis care, the first part is mix. So we do a lot of different exercises. And when I mean exercises, and I'll show, I'll have our website on here. You can watch the videos and see what I'm talking about. But you go on these machines that actually break up the tissue. So with scoliosis, you have a lot of scar tissue. You might notice, if you're a listener and you have scoliosis, you don't have a lot of range of motion, or you're very rigid, or you notice you can turn one way, but you can't turn the other way as well. So those machines break up all that scar tissue to allow it to be more mobile. And then the next part is the fix, where we actually, and a lot of people think chiropractic, we're going to be like, I call it the owl adjustment, where like we twist your neck and like your head is behind your back, or we put your leg over your ear, and like, no, like these are really specific adjustments based on x-rays with instruments. Because if you can do good, you can also do harm. So we're mirror imaging to put the bones in the right position. And then the last part, most important, is called the set, where we're actually setting those muscles in place in those bones to retrain the neurology. So then you go on something called a vibration plate, and you're wearing very specific custom weighting system called a torso trainer, specific to your curve and the individual. And then over time, that changes the neurology, and it changes, resets your muscle memory. And then patients are doing a whole series of home care exercises at home. And honestly, we just rinse and repeat that mix, fix, set with home care. And, even in a week's time, you can see a 40-50% decrease in scoliosis. It's absolutely amazing working with the science and the biomechanics to get that change for the individual.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I mean, I've personally seen it too. And I've also seen like some of your results as well on film. And I mean, you can't argue a 10-20 degree decrease in a scoliosis when you see it on film. It's really amazing. And I think something that's also important to cover is that I think some people think that once they get to a certain age that there can't be any correction. But I mean, Dr. Chris, I remember when you were, at your past clinic in Orlando, there was a lady there that was close to 90 that had some pretty significant corrections in a scoliosis. So it's really amazing how smart the body really is, and how it's always willing to adapt no matter what the age is.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Your body never says like, hey, you're 65, you're on Medicare now, I'm going to stop working, I'm going to stop healing. And you're right. The earlier, the better, because you want to, if a baby tree is, say the wind is blowing in, it blows over a little, that baby tree, if it's bent over, is going to grow in the wrong position. So
exactly, as
a kid, you want to nip it quickly so we can straighten it back out so they grow in the correct position. But no, if you're a listener right now, and early prevention is the best, but if you didn't have the chance to hear this message or know about this, it's never too far. I always say never remove hope. I mean, you're right. Whether you're 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, always a chance to get correction.
Exactly. No, I love it. I love all of the work that you are doing with scoliosis.
Appreciate it.
And I definitely want you to touch a little bit on everything that you are doing in the nutrition and weight loss world, as well as your supplement line, because you've been doing a lot with it lately, and I'm super excited for all of the the progress you've had with that.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. My wife says I'm crazy because I always try to, everything that I make, like whether it's a weight loss program or scoliosis or supplements, is for the individual. I want to give them the best possible care out and that's why I kind of came up with this first a weight loss program. I noticed that people are just, it's crazy, Doc. We have more low fat society, diets, gyms than we ever had. And if what we
Right.
were doing was working, we would all be like, paper thin, but it's the opposite. Diabetes is on the rise. I just read a study that, I think six out of seven, I think it was either 6 or 7 people, 7 out of 10 people were unfit for military duty, meaning they were
Wow.
just so overweight. And I think half of our kids are going to be considered obese by the time it's like 2030. And that bothers me.
This
So
is crazy.
exactly. So what we're doing is not working. So yeah, so the weight loss program is more for people I came up that have tried it before, tried to lose weight, exercise, diet, all that stuff. And it's just not working. And I kind of go through like a doctor supervised program where we hold their hand basically, and basically pretty much guarantee losing, I would say I'd say 20, 25 pounds in a 60-day period. And that, by the way, is losing pure fat. Now, a lot of these guys are listening out there. You've tried diets and you're like, yeah, I lost weight. But, a couple months later, I actually am worse off than I was because a lot of these diets, you're losing water weight. And then also because they're starvation diets,
Hmm.
you're losing muscle. And as you lose muscle, your metabolism goes down and you're worse off than you were before you started the diet. So this program is based on specific metabolic testing, blood work, to know exactly the hormones and exactly the program that you need individually to get the results. We do pre and post blood work. You're on a specific supplements, but it works amazing because it's customized and tailored to the individual. And you're right, just like x-rays are very objective, subjective in your feelings are very dangerous to base things on. We feel a certain way, one way. So this program, you start off with blood work, and then we do post blood work, and it's phenomenal. We see changes in cholesterol, glucose. So if you're, pre-diabetic, thyroid levels, inflammation markers. So you not only know that you're feeling better, but you're getting healthy from the inside out. It propels you just to an amazing lifestyle of great results in health. So I'm really
Right.
excited about it.
Yeah, and I mean, and with your supplement line too, I know you and I know your health values, so it's just, everything that are in the supplements are natural. They don't have any additives that are going to be harmful or chemicals, so you can be sure that you are actually putting something beneficial into your body and not just expensive chemicals that you would pick up at like a drugstore or any other type of store like that sells supplements. So it is important to have high quality supplements available.
Yes, and that's the thing too is the weight loss program is totally different. The supplements thing, that is something I came up with because you're right, Casey. I was so tired of giving patients, the average patient that comes in and is like, hey, I read this, I need this, or I heard about this supplement, and then I like, yeah, bring it in, and they show me these bottles, and I'm like, you might as well just be it's expensive urine. You're just
Exactly.
peeing it all out. You're not assimilating it, and honestly, a lot of times, not only are they spending money on it, but they're poisoning themselves because it's filled with just artificial sweeteners,
Yep.
toxins. So the ones I've created are all, you're right, non-GMO. They're gluten-free, vegan. So they have all of the proper nutrients you need to give you the best product at a good price. And what really set me over the edge, if you're a listener hearing this, a lot of supplements come from coal tar, and you can research that. But I want you, if you're I'm a big proponent in fish oil. Like most people know what that is. It helps reduce inflammation, helps if you have knee pain, joint pain, any sort of fibromyalgia symptoms, dementia. It helps with all these. But a lot of people are taking these and they're actually doing the opposite of what they should be doing because they come from such dangerous sources. So
Mm-hmm.
number one, I would say offender is fish oil. A lot of them don't come from fillets. They actually take the guts and the eyes and the tail and all the nonsense, and from farm raised fish instead of
That are full
whole.
of gluten and chemicals and anything that you don't want.
Correct. So they press them and they put them into a capsule, and you're like, yeah, I got 1,000 of them for $10, and that's a red flag. But I want you to take your fish oil at home, and take a styrofoam cup and put the fish oil in the styrofoam cup. And if most really dangerous acidic fish oils will eat directly through that styrofoam cup. I promise. The other one too I want to share is another top offender is vitamin E. And this is crazy. If you guys take vitamin E for hair, skin, and nail health, the number one vitamin E distributor, this is crazy, is actually Kodak, because they have their excess petroleum.
Wow.
And it's a byproduct, and they put it in their vitamin E. So if you have vitamin E at home, take a cup of water, cut the capsule, and put it in your cup, and kind of stir it with a spoon. And if it's good vitamin E, it should be water soluble. It should just dissolve right in. But you'll be surprised. Scoop it, stir it with the spoon, pull that spoon out. Most likely, you will have petroleum on that spoon. So I share those two tests because people are like, are you sure? You would be surprised what people do for marketing at the cost of the individual.
I didn't know that about Kodak. That's really crazy.
Because it's a byproduct of their films, so they had to find a way, and they're the number one vitamin E distributor. Pretty crazy.
Insane. That's insane. Yeah,
it is insane.
And Dr. Chris, one of your supplements that I am a big fan of is the vitamin D3, because it's in a liquid form. And if you want to speak about that, because that's something that you don't really see a whole lot, is seeing the D3 in a liquid form.
Yeah, no, and people ask all the time, what do I need to be taking? And sometimes, I remember a patient came in once with like 10 things, and I'm like, so a lot of people are overwhelmed with like information overload, but vitamin D would be the first place to start. I mean, They're saying now every cell has a vitamin D receptor. It everywhere from strong hair and teeth and nails all the way to immune system health. So vitamin D is the place to start. But you're right. 3 things that you need to look for with vitamin D. The first is the form. So a lot of people are like, yeah, I take vitamin D, but it's not vitamin D3. It's vitamin D or D2, and that's not the absorbable form. That's actually your body can't synthesize that. Vitamin D3 is the exact form that you would get from being outside. Sun hits your skin and creates that in your body. So first is the form. If you're not taking D3, you're wasting really your money and your time. The second thing is the bottle needs to be dark. And I want to touch on that because if the bottle is not dark, I've seen it, clear bottles, light gets in and it oxidizes and destroys the nutrients. So you're literally taking something that's destroyed or basically oxidized. You're not getting the same extent. And the third thing is, you're right, Casey, it should be in a liquid form. The reason why is liquid is so much easier digest into your system. The pills forms have to be broken down by the stomach, and it has to go through a whole series of different steps, versus liquid gets absorbed directly into your system. I think it was like 90% absorption versus pill form 50. And then the other thing is, if you really want to get specific, I made sure I added this in our vitamin D. You want something, you want added a vitamin K1 and K2. And what that does is it acts as a transport and literally allows you to increase your absorptions by 5-10 fold. So, all supplements are not made equal. You get what you pay for. But those are the top 4 things that you need to look for in specific supplements. Otherwise, that $10 bottle, I mean, it's just not only harming you, but you're wasting your money. And I just don't think it's fair for the individual. I just don't I think they've been duped by good marketing. Some guy smiling in the sun, like, oh, this vitamin D has to be good for me. But if they spent a little extra, they would actually get the benefits and the results.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And like you said, not all supplements are created equally. And if you're listening and you have any questions at all about the supplements that you are taking, feel free to reach out to Dr. Barker. I know he'd be willing to answer anything that you have, or if you have any questions for me, send them my way and we can help guide you. We'll let you know if it's actually a good quality or if we think you should maybe make a change. And, if you are looking for a new one, check out Dr. Chris's line because like I said, you can trust it and it's extremely high quality. So definitely check his out. And, Dr. Chris, what is the best way for people to follow you, like on social media and on your websites? Because I know you're putting out a lot of really helpful videos and, just resources that people can just learn how to make daily changes and, just have, just a healthier life, like with healthy nutrition. So what is the best way for people to follow you?
Yeah, no, that's good. I put out it's called a video of the week or the Ask the Dr. Barker show, where people send me questions all the time and I actually answer them in video form. And we have this whole show. It's kind of fun. I also do weekly articles based on what the viewers are asking for. I do this because of people. I just want people to be informed and just really be able to change their lives. Because you're right. I always say you can't be healthy from a hospital. I mean, you can't be a blessing from a hospital bed.
Right.
If you're sick, you can't make a difference in the people's lives you want to. So health is so important. So I've created a website. It's www.drdrchrisbarker.com. And if you go on that website, it has all the videos, weekly articles, all my social media buttons. So you can follow me on Instagram, you can follow me on YouTube, Facebook, and you'll get, it's also linked to our Shopify store. So you can see all the supplements, and it has videos about each one and talks about different, everything we're talking about, answers all your questions. And it also has a support that you could reach out to me and I'll be able to help you answer any questions and kind of guide you in the right direction.
Awesome. And Dr. Chris, one last question that I ask every guest now, but what is one piece of advice that you would give the audience? Just anything that's maybe helped you along your journey, but if you could only give just one piece of advice, what would it be?
That's a good one.
Put you on the spot.
Yeah, I like it. I think one thing would be that, besides the good Lord, health is wealth. It is. I've seen so many people abuse their health sacrifice it on the altar of, working and, making money and all that stuff. And there's nothing wrong with that, but you have to take care of your body. It's like people's cars that we take it in, and I literally see people take better care of their vehicles
right.
than their body. So, if you don't put oil in your car and don't align it and don't do that stuff, what do you expect? So I would say invest in yourself, invest in your health, and, don't always go for the, like we talked about, the cheapest supplement or the cheapest food. Because I actually think that, the cheapest food and the lowest calories, like eating at McDonald's, is actually the most expensive, because that $1 hamburger that you ate for 10 years every day is that $100,000 heart surgery down the road.
Right.
So many people want wealth. And I think they said that the average 65-year-old in America will need close to $1 million kind of on hand from all the medical problems that they would have. So I would say, yes, just don't worry about the short term. Invest in yourself, and long term, you will have so much health, wealth, and happiness, and you will be, so happy and blessed that you did it.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Chris, for coming on. I loved having you.
Yeah, I appreciate it, and I appreciate you having me, Casey.